Welcome to Warn Radio with your hosts, the Watchman Dana Smith and Tower. Thanks for listening.
Greetings in the name of the Lord and welcome to Warn Radio. This is Tower. I'm here with the Watchman and we are glad you joined us. Please send all your prayer requests and correspondence to us through our contact page at warn-usa.com. And you can listen to our Warn Radio episodes on danaglennsmith.com and warn-usa.com. Warn Radio is on the following platforms: Amazon Prime Music and Podcast, Spreaker, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play Music, Blog Talk Radio, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Google Podcast, Deezer, Spotify, Anchor, and Pocket Cast. And do not miss the featured posts this week of our in-depth biblical articles and radio shows. Featured on danaglennsmith.com, Offended, the World and the Faith of Christ. Perceived Truth, Loving Praise of Men. Is This America's Last Stand? And featured on warn-usa.com, Christian Advocacy, Witness for Jesus. Pressed Persecution Amid Unrest Finds Hope and Faith. Gun Control, Talk to Your Guns Immediately. Christian Unvarnished Truth Today. And don't miss the weekly shows of the WIBR Warn Radio, Advocacy for June 5th, Perilous Times, Law and Faith, Unreached People, North Korea, Furnace of Affliction, Advocacy Persecuted Church, Battle Lines, June 6th, Mine Elect, Isaiah's Prophetic Book, Part 218. Sound the Shofar for June 7th, The Son of God, the Redeeming Christ, Part 3. And be sure to get your copy of The Rising. It's a Christian fiction thriller by the Watchman Dana G. Smith, a story of personal survival, the struggle of a nation, and the love of two people set amidst the prophetic landscape of perilous times. Hidden within the storyline of The Rising is the truth of what's happening in America now. Check out The Rising, When He Who Opposes Rises, Believers Overcome by Faith. You can get your copy on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Ingram, Walmart, Angus & Robertson, and the ebook can be found on Google Play. You can also get your copy of The Rising by going to danaglennsmith.com. Visit our Christian books and resource shop where we feature The Rising and other Christian books as well as resources from our Vision Media. And now I welcome in the Watchman.
You're listening to Warn Radio on the WIBR Warn Radio Network. Don't forget to visit our websites at warn-usa.com and danaglennsmith.com. And also follow us on Twitter, find us on Instagram, and join us on LinkedIn.
Greetings, Dana. How are you doing tonight?
Well, you know, in spite of the election, I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Well, it is a mess, and it's a mess because as you know, and before I get into that, let me tell you, if you want to follow a good news source for conservatives and people who and I mean report the truth. I mean, unfortunately, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, and a number of others report out of the news as far as being the truth. They've been known as the fake news for a long time. They have sided with the Democratic Party almost inherently for the last 4 years against Trump and his supporters. Pelosi sided with Hillary as far as calling the supporters deplorables. So they don't think very much of us. Matter of fact, when you get right down to it, even Kamala Harris, she said, after we take the White House, we're going to hunt down Trump supporters. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's coming out of the leftists and out of the news agencies.
And she's not joking.
No, she's not. Well, the thing of it is Newsmax is a good, solid reporting, and there is some good reporters from some of the other networks that are working for them. And you have to understand, there's reporters that, like Lou Dobbs, he's still at Fox News, but even Fox News made some errors. So there's a lot of that going around and everything else, but there's a lot of lawsuits, a number of lawsuits going on, and because there is corruption, and it all has to do with the mail-in ballots. It has to do with ballots being legal or not legal, and people being legal to vote. And that's the whole issue here. And so I guess we'll find out, and there's no doubt about it. Trump has been assigned something, and that is to, really dig down and uncover the ugliness in the things that go in what we call the deep state. He has been from the beginning taken on the side of those Americans that Hillary would call deplorables. And the deplorables come in all sizes, races, creeds, and colors, and they're the ones that put him on top. And during the first part of the election, all of the ABC, NBC, all the fake news had spent months telling everybody how the polls said Trump was going to get wiped out. He didn't have a chance. When in fact, he started taking everything from the beginning. And he was doing really, really good. And so they had to do something. And before you knew it, everybody shut things down and started doing things in secret. And so at any rate, to make a long story short, it is a mess. They are working on it, but it has to be uncovered. There is cheating, and we've known there was cheating. There was cheating during Obama's. We know very well there was, especially in Philadelphia, because of some of the election judges that came forth. And so there's a lot of issues here that has never been addressed, that has never been taken care of. And so for those that wanted a quick thing, make no mistake about it. There is a deep state in this country. There is a deep state that is anti-God and anti-Christian, anti-Israel, and even anti-America. So make no mistake about it. And so this is the America that is within the America that needs to be uncovered. And it goes all the way from the top of our government down to the lowest levels of local government. It is everywhere. It's embedded. And in some states, it is absolutely worse. Out in Portland where the, the socialist mayor, Ted Wheeler was, you remember him. He wouldn't do anything.
Yes.
Well, he won barely. And you know who his opponent was?
Huh.
A communist.
Oh, my goodness.
An avowed communist.
Which is, you raise your hands up back and forth, like a balance. Who's the better of the two? Good grief. And
then there's another one that won that's going to join the squad. And she is a member of Black Lives Matter. She's been on the street protesting, and she got almost a 90%.
Unbelievable.
Well, the reason she did is because the little district that she's from is all BLMers, and they all voted and made sure she got in.
Yeah, and she's from Missouri.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cheating going on, and I don't think for a moment that woman made it in legal. Not for a moment. I think there's a lot of wickedness in this country, and I think Trump and whether you like it or not, he's been positioned, and he's almost like Cyrus, as that rabbi said from Israel before he got elected. There's a lot of types with that, and a lot of things we've seen him do that no others have been able to do, like the peace that's going on in the Middle East, like helping Israel, and also doing some of the things here.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean he's like us. It doesn't mean it at all. It means that he's been appointed by God to do things that nobody else has been able to do. And one of those is to absolutely uncover, discover, and undo a lot of things in this country. He is not like everybody else. And this election, make no mistake about it, they will get to the bottom of this, and they will take care of it. So at any rate...
Well, another thing I was going to say is I believe that God's been working in President Trump's life for years because of snippets we've seen, like he was on Larry King Live one time and talking about how he may have to run for the presidency, and other things you've heard. And there's one that he's always loved this country, and when it got to the point after 8 years, probably 6 years of Obama, he decided to run for president because he could see that they were trying to destroy America, the America he loves.
Well, that's true. And why this is important. Now, tonight we go over the advocacy for the persecuted church. But make no mistake, folks, the persecuted church and persecuted peoples need a nation where they can have nonprofits that are profitable enough and healthy enough that we as Americans can give to them so they can take care of the persecuted church overseas. And if America gets taken over by a bunch of communists and socialists and destroys it, and we become like Venezuela or something, we can't help the persecuted church. Now, this is the battle that we must win, because the lives of the persecuted church, and I believe God is involved in this, absolutely.
Oh, I do too.
And I believe, and if you would listen to us on our other broadcast on Wednesday, me going through the...
This is Wednesday, you mean Thursday?
Thursday night on our Isaiah series. I have gone through 69 hours of teaching in Isaiah, and I go through that, and I can show you so many types between what Israel went through and what we're going through today. It's almost identical in a lot of areas.
Well, I believe President Trump's going to be reelected. It's going to be a fight, but he's going to be reelected. That's what I believe.
Well, I think a lot of this stuff, in order to get it uncovered and rooted out, it's going to wind up in the Supreme Court.
Well, it needs to be rooted out and cleaned out. That swamp in D.C. is deep and wide.
Well, it is. And while I'm talking about it, on the WIBR Warren Radio, we report and comment on the persecution of Christians and other oppressed people groups worldwide. Now, while it might seem at times we report on different countries and nations and races and cultures, we do not hate the people. But when we look at instances that we can give you, in China, for instance, we love the Chinese people, their cultures and history. Now, we don't hate them or anything about them, but we do not agree with the communist agenda. And what they do is the oppression of Christianity and the Uyghurs who are there, or others in China. And it's the same manner. It is the policies and actions of those in power, and that includes, we can look at Nigeria, we can look at India, we can look at Pakistan, we can look at the Sudan. Now, the Sudan is doing something different after many, and I call it decades of unrest and just trouble. Both the Muslim and the Christian leaders have agreed to get together to work for peace and have a state that promotes religious freedom, so they're not killing one another and in war, which is a good step, because the people there desperately need peace and they need to rebuild, and so we'll see how that goes. It's always better to live in peace than it is to kill one another all the time, and that